Hello, my name is Jamar Van, and this is the Business and Hustle Podcast. And today we have a special guest today, Miss Shevelle McPherson. How you doing?
Hi, good to be here.
Tell them what you do.
So, I am a business attorney specializing in intellectual property and trademarks. And I also am a business coach and I work with entrepreneurs because I have found that most entrepreneurs like to hurry up to try and get to the bag without securing the bag. So, what I do is I help them put their profit pillars in place so they're legally positioned to not only profit and make money, but to keep it.
All right. Now, let's go back a little bit. So, how long you been an attorney?
20 years plus.
20 years. And
Mhm.
you didn't start as a
No,
copyright attorney. You
no,
actually started as,
a criminal prosecutor.
okay. Now, how did you transition from a criminal prosecutor to doing copyright attorney?
So, as a prosecutor, I was a trial attorney. And when I left the prosecutor's office, obviously I did a lot of criminal defense, but I also had business owners coming to me because I was a litigator, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the business owners were coming to me because they were having disputes with clients, they were having disputes with partners, they were having, copyright, trademark infringement issues.
Right.
And not all attorneys are trial attorneys. So I met a lot of them that way. The other thing is when I stopped practicing as a prosecutor and I started developing my business coaching, I obviously invested in coaches. And anytime I was in any of those communities, and when people heard that I was a lawyer, of course, the next question was, can I ask you a question? Can I pick your brain? Right. And
Right.
it was always entrepreneurs wanting to ask a question or pick my brain. And one of the things that I came to realize was most entrepreneurs are more focused on making money. They're not focused on protecting it until something happens. So I decided to,
Mhm.
instead of helping them on the back end when it was expensive to hire me as a litigator, that's when I started my coaching. And I said, maybe it will be better for them and more economical if I can help them be proactive, to show them how not to need me as a litigator, to
Right.
put things in place so that they can avoid, the enormous cost that it costs, the time, the energy to and the stress of litigating, right?
Right.
And there's certain pillars and certain foundations that entrepreneurs can put in place. And if you set your business up properly from the onset, you don't have to worry about fixing things in the back end, right?
Right.
So that's how I ended up going from prosecutor to criminal defense to business. And then it just so happened that because I was always in a community of entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
I started to enjoy that more.
Right.
And so the criminal practice started to die down
Mm-hmm.
and the business practice started to pick up. And, like I said, I was doing criminal law is great experience. The trial work is like phenomenal, but it can get to a point where it can be a burnout, right? I used to,
Right.
before COVID, I was running from courthouse to courthouse,
Mm-hmm.
client to client. And then I did serious cases. So I represented murderers and rapists, and most of my clients weren't out on bail. So this meant I'm running from jailhouse to jailhouse, courthouse to courthouse.
Right.
And that can be tiring. So when I started to get into a community with more entrepreneurs, it was a win-win for both of us because I was
Right.
able to help them and I was also able to change my lifestyle.
Okay. So let's talk about the business people. Do most business owners that you find go wrong right from the outset?
Oh, so okay. The main thing
The
that I
main.
see is most entrepreneurs, for instance, they when they start a business, they pick a business name and they might go and put, maybe they might, some of them might go put it into an entity, some of them don't. But it doesn't matter whether they put into an entity or not. Even when they pick the name, they don't even search the name, they don't even check the name. They just go into business, right? Oh, I'm gonna start a business today. My business name is gonna be, the candy shop or whatever. And then
Right.
they just start operating, right? And that's the biggest mistake because what happens is, if you just because you pick a name, first of all, doesn't mean that the name is available for you to use in business, right? So I always tell entrepreneurs the very first thing you want to do is, even when it comes to the name that you're going to use in your business, is do a search on it. Go to UPS, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, like upsto.gov. Go there. Even if you're not ready to trademark it yet, this test system, which is the electronic search system, is free. Just put the name in, see what comes up. And then now you've done that minimum search. And I also usually say check on Google, check the .com, just do some due diligence just with the name that you plan to use. And then if you find that it's available, then the next thing you need to do is put it into an entity, right? So get you an LLC or an S Corp or a Corp that you can elect S Corp status, depending on where you are in your business. But you definitely want to have an entity. But most entrepreneurs, that's not the first thing that they do.
You find that it's entrepreneurs out here that don't, is at the level where they need an attorney that they haven't even set up their foundation?
Oh, a lot.
So they just running straight into business.
Oh, they run straight into business. I run into a lot that don't. You know how many entrepreneurs? I mean, I actually created an online program to make it more I just finished talking to you. I'm also writing a book. I'm making it more and more accessible for entrepreneurs. You can go buy a business book in Barnes and Noble for $20 or $30 and get you a little blueprint, a checklist of some of the things you should do before you go into business. One of the things that I know has happened to a lot of entrepreneurs, especially during the pandemic, those that had their foundation in place were able to survive and grow and get loans and business credit, and all the ones that didn't, the ones that say, oh, they making money under the table, or they making money, but they want to show that there's no money on their tax return. They couldn't get anything in that first round because it looked like they weren't in business, or it looked like they didn't make anything in their business, right? And I always tell entrepreneurs, at the end of the day, you're in business, you want to make money, right? If you set your business up properly, there's no reason at the end of the year that you should just be like, you made nothing. Because if you're in the right entity and you are working with the right professionals, lawyers, accountants, they can make sure that you are reporting this income. But there are a lot of incentives, and there are a lot of things you can deduct, and there's ways to, you want to be doing tax planning, not tax preparing. So a lot of entrepreneurs will run, if you're going to get your taxes done once a year as an entrepreneur, something's wrong. Right. But entrepreneurs don't get this foundational. They don't get that foundational piece. You should be doing tax planning. You should have a CPA or an enrolled agent or someone who's monitoring and helping you position the money that you make right. You look at Grant Cardone and all these other, big influencers, they're buying cars and putting them in their business name, and they're doing it not to showboat, but to have a tax write-off. Right. So
what about, let's talk about the new entrepreneur. They're not thinking that far ahead. Where should they be thinking about that, going right into the gate? I'm got an idea, I'm starting a business. Is that where they should start thinking right off the gate? Like,
I'm gonna give them step-by-step process of what they can do, just some easy breezy steps. The first thing that they want to do, like I said, when they pick a name, they want to go to upsto.gov. That's the United Patent Trademark Office, right? They want to go there. Just check the name. It's free. Make sure it's clear. Now, when you get the name, you want to get the .com name so that you can have your professional, URL. Then you want to make sure that you put your business into an entity. I usually tell entrepreneurs, most of them, if you're just starting, I don't look at a sole proprietorship and a partnership as a protective entity, because there's no separation of you and the business. You want to separate yourself from your business. So you want to at least have an entity that's going to give you some limited liability. LLC is a great place to start. Once you start making a certain amount of money, depending on the accountants vary. Some say 50,000, some say 100,000. Discuss it with your accountant. But when you hit whatever that threshold is, you can go into an S Corp, right? And if you have an LLC, you don't have to dissolve it. You can elect S Corp status. You could be a C Corp and elect S Corp status, right? So you just want to make sure you are in an entity. LLC, C Corp, S Corp. Pick from a legal perspective. I don't care which one it is. Your accountant is going to care because he's looking out for your taxes. But me as your lawyer, I just want you protected so that you're safe from lawsuits and disgruntled clients and creditors and all those things. I don't want to see you lose your personal assets and your personal home over mistakes that you may make or over incidents that could happen in your business, things that you're liable for. So number one, after you search and make sure your name is clear, put your business inside of an entity. I call it a protective legal structure. Okay.
Okay. So when you say put it into an entity, an LLC, S corp, C corp, because when you put it in an entity, that separates you from your business.
Absolutely.
So therefore, when something goes wrong, the personal is not responsible for the actions of the business.
This is the best example I can give. If someone hires me, my business, just say Shevelle McPherson LLC, they hire my business. They pay me $100,000, right? I make this over the course of however long. So I made $100,000 in Shevelle McPherson LLC. I earned it. I'm going to take that $100,000 I made once it's earned. I'm going to put that money in my personal account because I earned it. So I could buy a house, a car, I can invest, I can do whatever I want. I'm going to leave $10 in the business account just to keep it open until the next client comes, right? But what happens is something happens, I hit somebody with my car or creditor sues me, whatever happens, if they're coming after my business and I only have the $5 or $10 in that account that I left to keep it open, that's all they can get. They can't get that $100,000 that's in my personal account. They can't come after my house. They can't come after my retirement. They can't come after because my business is separate from me. That's the importance of having an entity because you want to shelter your personal assets from creditors, from disgruntled clients, from lawsuits. You want to make sure that your business can, that your personal life and your personal assets are not going to be put at risk because of your business.
All right. So what's our next step after you put your entity
after
together?
You do that, okay, now you have a business, you're ready to rock and roll. The next thing you want to make sure is that you're using legal agreements, contracts, because a lot of times people will call me, somebody didn't pay them, or there's a fallout over, what they thought they were going to do this. And the first thing I say is, what does the agreement say?
Right.
And sometimes they say, oh, I don't have an agreement. And I mean, like, so now you have a problem because that's going to result in litigation. When you first start to do business with someone, that's the point where everybody's happy. You're excited for me to do the work. I'm excited to do the work. You're paying me. We're all smiling. It's just like, when you get married, like you don't foresee the divorce 5 years later, but on that wedding day, everybody's blissful. So I always tell my clients, get everything in writing while everybody's blissful, because as soon as you fall out, amnesia sets in. Disagreement sets in. Anger sets in. Lies set in, right? People start changing the narrative of what they thought were the rules of engagement. So that's when you want to say, no. I have it right here. This is what you were supposed to do because you have a contract. Right. And I always tell people, you make sure that your contracts aren't downloaded off the internet or borrowed from your friends or put together. You want to make sure you get you some solid legal agreements that outline the terms of engagement so that there are no problems when things happen.
Okay, so it's no good because there's a lot of people that do just that, pull it offline, change the couple names around, couple words. You saying that's not a legal document? Everybody sign it, and that's not a legal document.
Not a legal document. What I'm saying is I don't know if the terms are good. I'll give you an example. Like I've had clients that have, I've drafted agreements for them, or they've gone, like I have a contract site at this point, right? So if someone comes to me for a contract, I have a whole template. These are all contracts that are drafted by me. So I know that my contracts are what I call legally bossed up, right? So if something happens, to someone who has one of my legal agreements, most likely they're going to prevail because I've seen everything. So I'm putting what needs to be in the contract, right? So I've seen people who had events. I know one person, she had an event canceled. She's supposed to get $55,000 for the event. They canceled it 2 weeks before. She had a bossed up legal agreement. It wasn't cut, copied, and pasted. But I'm like, make the phone call, tell them to cut you the check for $55K because your agreement required them to give you 30 days or 60 days, whatever was noted. They can't call you 2 days before because that's affecting your livelihood. So that's why you don't want to download things. You want to make sure that these agreements are tailored specifically to help you in your circumstances. Jamar's contract might not help Shevelle.
Right.
Our interest could be different.
Okay. All right.
So you
All
always
right.
want to make sure you have a solid legal agreement, not just some, cut, paste, copy, whatever. No.
All right. So where we at? We at all right.
So you
Next
want to
step.
have so that's number 2. You want to have a business entity. You want to have legal agreements. Number 3, you want to own your business. Just because you went and got an LLC or you went and got an S corp does not mean that you own anything. It just means that you are safe from liability. Please hear me, because people think, oh, I got a business, I got a .com, I got an LLC. I own the business. No, not until you file a federal trademark with the trademark office do you own that name. Because the Secretary of States don't talk to the federal government, right? So if you are operating, let's say Business Hustle Podcast, right? Business Hustle Podcast, right? You got this name, you got this logo, you out here running it. If it's not federally, if it's not trademarked, right, then that means anybody else can come along and start using it. So then people say, well, how does that work? Like, Jamar, where are you from? What town, what state?
I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Okay, so let's just say you're in Michigan, right? And you've been doing this podcast there in Michigan, and you never trademarked the name, right? And then someone else goes and trademarks the name. Well, they may not be able to shut you down in Michigan because you have common law rights. But do you want to have common law rights in Michigan, or do you want to be bossed up and have common law rights through all of the states, like nationwide, right?
Exactly.
So when you file a federal trademark, you elevate your common law rights, and now you actually own this name everywhere. In the class you file. So you file it in the class for podcasting. But I'm seeing you wearing a shirt, so maybe you want to go in class 25 for shirts. You want to go in class, the class for podcast. So you want to pick these classes so you can dominate ownership of this name. So now nobody else can use it. That's how you boss up your business. That's how you create a legacy. That's how you own stuff.
Okay, so at what point am I thinking that I started my business? I don't know if this is the idea I'm gonna have for the rest of my life. At what point do you say, now it's time to copyright?
That's a good question, and it's not copyright; it's trademark, because there's
trademark.
Trademark is when you want to register your brand, your names, your taglines, your logos. Think of trademarks as your marks that you're putting out here. Like the words. Copyright, like I just said, I'm writing a book. Copyright is for content. It's for books and blogs and photos, things like that. Creative works that are created by the author, right?
Okay.
So that's copyright. So there's two different, they both get federal protection, but one is through the Copyright Office and one is through the Trademark Office.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the difference. There's three types of intellectual property. There's copyright, there's trademark, and patents. Patents are for inventions and ideas. I don't deal a lot with patents because I work with business owners, and most of my business owners are creatives. They have podcasts and coaching business and books and shows and shirts and products, right? So I more so help out with the copyright and the trademark. So you asked this question, when do you know? I usually give that question back, and I always ask this question to you. If you woke up tomorrow morning and you found out someone started a podcast and they named it Business, and Hustle, right? Okay. How would you feel?
Pissed.
Damn, then you need a trademark.
I hate you even said that. Oh God.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not here to tell anybody when they need it, because I asked that question. Like, I asked that question to someone yesterday, and I said, if you woke up, and she said, oh, I wouldn't care. And I said, then you don't need trademark, because you're not vested in it. But if you're vested in it, and you're spending time and energy building up the brand, and you are marketing, and you got products and shirts, and now people see you and they go, oh, that's the Business and Hustle guy. Yo, what's up? You know what I mean? That's my dude right there, right? You know, if you start to get known for it, then that you want to plant your stake in the ground for ownership.
Okay. Right. Okay.
So those are the main three things. Like if you put your business in an entity, make sure you do all your searching, get your .com name, if you're using effective contracts, and if you are using protecting your intellectual property with trademark and copyright, you're pretty much in a good place. I usually go a little bit further with people. I say, okay, so that's how you protect your business, your personal assets, your brand, but then you want to go a step further too, and you want to say, well, what if something like unexpected happens? And you want to make sure you have business insurance, because people don't think about that. Right. So you have business insurance. That's another thing that you can do to make sure that when things happen and you get sued, you want to have someone to pick up the risk, right?
Right.
So if you set those things in place, pretty much you're good. The other thing too is like when you have this entity, make sure you have an EIN, a federal tax number, right? Because that's a whole nother conversation. But at some point, you want to start building business credit.
Correct.
Right. So you can start. Your business is its own person. So just like you have your personal credit, you may want to have business credit so you can get business loans, because that's how you grow and scale. It's with other people's money, right?
Exactly.
Some debt is good debt, right?
Right.
So you want to get yourself in a position where you're starting to build business credit, and you have to have an EIN, you have to have an entity, and you need to have a separate business bank account.
Right.
And no commingling, people.
Problem number one. Exactly. What cuts the corporate veil the quickest.
Right.
But explain to people commingling funds and why it's bad.
So commingling means mixing up your business with your personal, because if you don't respect the limited liability that the government's giving you, the courts aren't going to respect it. So what that basically means is, if you have, you go to the grocery store, you shouldn't be pulling out your business credit card to get your hair done. You shouldn't be pulling out your business credit card, to buy your little snacks or whatever it is, your deodorant, your toothpaste. Use your personal card, your debit card for those things. Use your business credit and your business debit cards for business purposes. Because the moment you start mixing your business stuff with your personal stuff, it's called piercing the corporate veil.
Correct.
So you're no longer going to have that limited liability protection, because you're being disrespectful to the business. Right. So the court's going to let people
don't disrespect you back. Right. So now they can go into your personal funds.
So when I told you that they couldn't touch that million, if you've been dipping and dabbing on both sides, they can touch that million in your personal account, because you have evaporated that line of separation.
All right. All right, now that we done talked about business setting up and stuff like that, let's talk about the business person. Mindset and when it comes to things like educating yourself, getting coaching, and what's important. What do you feel about coaching? Now, and to be fair, everybody, I know me and Shevelle are in a coaching program. It's an expensive one.
Yes,
but tell people, what do you feel about, because a lot of people I know, coaching is not a thing that just come up in conversation. Like, I want to get in the business, I might need to give me some coaching. No. What do you feel about that? What do you feel about coaching, and what is the hesitation, what you think, with people when it comes to getting coached?
Well, I think that when it comes to, it's a mindset, right? And it's two sides to that mindset. One is the entrepreneur that's starting out and they have a scarcity mindset. And the mindset of scarcity just means that they think that they need all their funds to do whatever it is they're trying to do in their business. And they want to cut some corners, and they want to try and save money and do a lot of things by themselves. And then they think they can, like I said, ask people questions or cut and copy contracts and cutting a lot of corners, right?
Right.
I always say, for me, I love coaching. I mean, just be clear, because some people also, think they're too smart or they don't need anybody. I have a college degree, a dual college degree, a law degree, a master's degree, and I still have a coach. Okay.
Right.
All right. LeBron James has a coach. Michael Jordan, they had a coach. Lots of talent. And we need to look at ourselves as athletes do. Athletes are very talented, but the coach is able to bring out the skills and talents that you have and allow you to really sharpen your skills. And they get to see
what you don't see.
They see what you don't see. And they also can help point out your blind spots. right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have a tendency, see, our mind, we're trained from when we're kids. Like, even when I was growing up, I was trained to go to school, get a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily teach go to school and get a job, right?
Right.
Right? Because I've learned some things since then. But the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I've learned some things is because I've been in an environment where there's coaching and there's open mindedness and there's different philosophies, and there are people that are more successful than I am that I want to learn from. And I don't want to make the same mistakes that they made. I want to cut
Mm-hmm.
them a check for speed.
Exactly.
So if I invest in coaching, I'm going to tell you something about a coach. I'm a coach. Like, I have clients and I coach. I'm going to tell you something about a coach. When you cut me a check, I'm going to show you everything I know.
Mm-hmm.
So some people call and they go, "Can I ask you a quick question?" Yep, real quick, because I don't do to pick my brain. You
Right.
really want to, if you really want some in-depth information from me, cut me a check. Let me coach you.
Right.
Because now you're invested and you have skin in the game. And it's not necessarily that I don't necessarily need to have everybody's money for coaching. I don't want to coach everybody, right?
Right.
But it is definitely the way to get to the blueprint of where you're trying to go. So it's like, even what Russell Brunson used to say, you can tell all the pioneers because they all got the darts in their back, right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
You
Exactly.
can tell them, right? So you don't want to be that person with all these darts in your back. You
Right.
want to be the person that's following the leader, through the clear path because he's been down that path and he's already removed all the danger and he put his own blueprint together. And all you got to do is cut him a check and he gonna walk you straight through the blueprint. Why would you not
Exactly.
want to do that?
Exactly.
Why not?
Exactly. Just like you said, you cutting the
I'm cutting a
right.
check for speed because I don't need to make all the mistakes and do, there is no need to reinvent a will when there are successful wills out there that if you invest in their programs, they'll just give you the blueprint.
Right.
So you over here spending all this time trying to figure it out, trying to reinvent it, trying to see what's working, when you could just step over here, cut your coach a check,
Trying to
and
save your money, thinking
yeah,
you saving your money.
yeah, it's like, in the long run, you got to just ask yourself, are you really saving money? And I tell people all the time, I believe in ROI, right? So I believe in ROI. If I invest in a coach, I expect a return. Now, it might not be tomorrow. Let's be clear.
Mm-hmm.
It might not even be next month. It could be next year. It could be 5 years from now. I'm still receiving some ROI for programs that I invested in years ago.
Right.
Right before I got on this show with you, I got a telephone call from someone I met 3 years ago who still, watches me on social media and is ready to invest. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And so it doesn't mean that the ROI is going to come when you expect it to come.
Right.
Your job is to get out there with your gifts and your talents. If you can find a mentor and a coach that can help you sharpen, your gifts and your talents, then you should invest in that mentor.
Absolutely.
So you can really put your gifts and talents out to the masses in a way that's really going to be effective. It's going to allow it's a win-win because you know what happens? You get a blueprint, you get to serve an amazing group of people, and in return, you get to enjoy your life doing what you love and getting paid to do it. Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, I am definitely a fan, a strong advocate of coaching.
Perfect. Tell me, what is a typical day like in your life, in the life of Shevelle McPherson? I see you on the, you get a lot of chill time. You do your work on the beach. You do your work at the pool. What's a typical day like for you?
So okay, so I have a new routine now that I implemented because that COVID snacking can kind of get to you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I used to didn't do a whole lot of exercising, but now a typical day for me. So the first thing that I do when I get up, whether I travel a lot, so I'm usually by a pool, by a beach. And when I'm like right now, I'm in my home office and I'm here all week. I've barely been on social media this week because I'm writing a book. So there comes
Mm-hmm.
some moments when I'm like, I just got to go lock myself in somewhere and get some things done. You know what I mean? So that's what I've been doing. But a typical day for me, I get up, I say my prayers, I do my meditation, I drink me some water, and I go walk. I walk and I jog. Before I do anything, I used to get up, jump right at the computer. No,
Mm-hmm.
that's not healthy, right? So
Right.
now now I'm up at least. I have a whole regimen that I do just for me and my self care for about 2 hours before I sit down and start working. And I make
Right.
sure I get my prayer in. I make sure I get my meditation in. I make sure I get my walking in. And then sometimes that walking turns into jogging. Then when I get back, I'm doing some sit-ups and some other, exercises. Then I'm showering, I'm eating. Usually, typically for me, I don't really eat a heavy breakfast. So I do like a smoothie with like fruits and vegetables, right?
Right.
That's my breakfast. And then I get so now my body and my mind is ready to go serve my clients,
Okay. All
right?
right.
And then though at that point, depending on where I'm at, if I'm in my home office, then it's the computer and Zoom or whatever work. I block my time out. So there's
Right.
certain days when I'm doing consultations with clients. There's certain days when I'm working, like this week right here. My
Mm-hmm.
whole calendar was just set out from Monday to Friday to write my next book.
Okay. All
Right.
right.
And so that's what I've been, but still, even though I'm doing that, those first 2 hours in the morning, I still do that self-care regimen, exercise, eating, making sure I'm fit, because you cannot serve anybody sick. You can't
Mm-hmm.
serve anybody broke. You can't serve anybody unhealthy. You know what I
Right.
mean? And this is a stressful, entrepreneurship can be a roller coaster and it can be stressful. So
Mm.
you really have to tune into making sure that you are a priority. I cannot serve anyone else until I've served myself.
That's correct. So, question. All right. Somebody out here a new entrepreneur. Let's say somebody watching this and they're on the fence. They're trying to figure out, is it working for them? Or should I jump into business? I keep hearing that it's hard. I don't want to go. What advice would you give somebody that's on the fence? They want to start a business. They don't know, if it's the time. We got recession. We got the fuel. We got this. We got that. What would you tell somebody right now that's like, what do I do in my life? What
So
they want to get into business?
okay, so for me, I am a real advocate of entrepreneurship. I'm an advocate of entrepreneurship. I really do not like the idea of trading time for money. I really don't think it serves anyone well. I think we have been taught that that has been the way, but I really don't think that that's the way. But I also realize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and sometimes you have to trade time for money until you can get to a place where you can dive into entrepreneurship, right? So for me, if I were talking to someone and they really wanted to start a business, I would ask them a few questions. First of all, the first thing that I would want to know is why. Like, why do you really want to start the business? Or do you want to start the business because everybody else is doing it? Do you want to start the business because of the lifestyles you see on social media?
Mm-hmm.
What's your North Star reason for wanting to start this business, right? Because we want to make sure that this is really something, because I'm telling you, if it's not something that you want in your soul, you're gonna give up quickly, because it's not that easy. It's hard. Like, it's
Right.
hard. I don't care. Yes, I am the work from wherever legal boss. I travel all around the world. It's great, but I've been doing this for 20 years or so, right? But
Mm-hmm.
when you first start off and you're trying to figure things out, it's not that easy. So the first thing is, ask yourself why. And I want you to go deep when you ask yourself why. Like, is it because you want to build a legacy, you want to serve more people, you want to be able to travel the world and still work? Like, why? So
Mm-hmm.
once you get that why down and you know why, I want you to hold on to it. And the reason why I want them to have the why is because when they do step into entrepreneurship and when things do get hard, they're gonna have to think about the why, because it's the why that's gonna keep them going.
Exactly.
Okay, so you got to write that why down and you got to hang it on the wall, because once you step into this entrepreneurship side, there's going to be times when you want to give up and you want to quit, but you're going to have to look at that why. If your why isn't strong enough, you're not going to make it.
You're not gonna make it.
You're not going to make it. Your why has to be so strong that when you look at that why, you go, okay, I got to keep going. It's like when I first started getting up walking, I barely exercise. I could barely walk around. Now I'm running. Now I'm jogging. You have to train yourself to get to a higher level. So first look at your why, and then ask yourself, if you know why you want to do it, look at your circumstances at the time, right? Because you still got to eat, you still got to pay your bills, you still have to do things. So do you have some savings in place, or do you have credit? Because if you have credit, that's a whole nother conversation too. There is some debt that is good debt. You know, can you afford to step away from the 9 to 5 because you either have enough savings or you have enough credit where you can go and all in on this thing and still have a safety net? Or do you have some support system like a husband, a wife, a spouse, or somebody that's willing to be a cushion for you if things get rough, right? So you got to look at your support system. You got to look at your why. You got to look at your support system. And then I would say, if you are in a position after looking at all that, go for it, right? Just go for it if you are. If you're not in a position where you don't have that strong foundation and you know it's just not time, because it might not be time, then I would suggest starting it off small, a side hustle, right? So I started my coaching business as an unintended side hustle. I was still running a full-time law firm and not really thinking about even leaving it. And I just kept getting a call in and, oh, okay, I'll help you over here. I'll do this contract. I'll do this trademark. Next thing you know, the side hustle was taking over the real hustle. Right. So then you don't even have to ask yourself, when is it time? Because the side hustle will tell you when it's time. When that side hustle becomes your main hustle, then you can let that other thing go. Right.
What would you do if you could start over again? Let's say with the things that you know now, would you walk the exact same path, or would you have a whole different game plan?
That's a little hard, because I think I've made some pretty good decisions, but there's always things that we could do better, right? And when I say that, I would say, like when I came into like the legal profession, right? It was the path. It was like the whole thing of what you're told, go to school, get an education, have a good job, have a career. So it was like that was the path that I saw. I didn't really have any idea what was going on in this coaching world.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
If I would have started off over there, maybe I would have been in a different financial position sooner, because that was a lucrative side. You understand? There's a lot of people that were making way more money than doctors and lawyers that didn't go through that traditional path, right? But I also believe that for what I am in my business, my path served me well. Because I'm not just a coach. I'm an attorney. I have so many, I have multiple streams of income, right? And that's a beautiful thing, because if this one isn't pushing through, then that one is pushing through. So I think my experiences have landed me in the place where I'm supposed to be. But if I had it to do over again, probably would have invested in coaching sooner. That's what I probably would have done.
Right.
Because I don't want to say I didn't see the value at one point, but I didn't understand the value because I was walking through a traditional path. But if I had to do anything differently, it would be to just have gotten involved with coaches and mentoring and this other side sooner rather than later.
And leapfrog, instead of walking a path.
Yes.
Leapfrog that same path.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
That's how I explain to people about mentorship and coaching. You can get there.
Yes.
You can get there, most definitely, or you can leapfrog there.
Absolutely.
And when we see like some other cultures that's moving ahead fast, and we thinking, well, they got the advantage. Well, they kind of leapfrogging because this automatically in a conversation that they having.
Right.
So they're leapfrogging because that mentor may be someone in the family,
right?
An uncle or somebody else, maybe a doctor or something like that. They leapfrogging like that, but you can do the exact same thing, just cost you a little more than they might cost them.
Right.
Or maybe not. May cost the same thing. So exactly. If they wrote a book about you, what would they call it?
If they wrote a book about me, what would they call it? They would call it.
If someone wrote a biography of you, what would it be called?
It would probably be called The Unstoppable One.
The Unstoppable One. What's next? What's next on your path? What do you need to conquer?
So what's next for me? Well, what's in my immediate next is this book that I've been sitting here working on all
Let's
week.
talk about that book.
So that's what's in the immediate path. That is like, listen, when I say The Unstoppable One, let me tell you, I woke up, I told you this before we came. I woke up, I think it was like Monday. And that's why, unstoppable and perseverance is like, that's just who I am.
Mhm.
And I said, you know what? You been talking about this book for a while. You need to get it done. So I picked up the phone. I called, this publisher. I'm like, I have this book and da da da. I want to get it out. And, she's like, okay, we can have that done in 6 months. And I was like, no, it can't be 6 months. She's like, what do you mean? I said, I want it done for my birthday. Like, that's my birthday gift to myself because I just want this done. She's like, when is your birthday? I said October. She said, this is August. I'm like, okay, what's the problem? She's like, that means that you got to get it done right away. I'm like, okay. So I called the person who was going to edit for me, and I'm like, can you edit this book? Because the publisher was like, I got to have it by this date.
Right.
So the editor is like, if you need it by that date, I have to have the manuscript by this date, which is next week.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. So that means I got to write it this week, give it to the editor, and then okay, fine. So that's why I'm in my home office, and that's why I haven't been on social media this week,
Right.
and I kind of been locked in here. Other than doing this with you, I've been writing this book.
All right.
So
Tell us about it. Give us the
I am the
Cliff
legal
Notes.
boss. I'm the legal boss. I'm gonna give you the cliff.
Right.
You just got the cliff notes.
Okay.
Everything that the cliff, because this book is. So here's the thing. I mean, you asked me how do I feel about coaching, right?
Right.
And you also said that we're in a coaching program. I'm in coaching programs. I'm in several. I spend a lot of money. I probably spent over 6 figures in coaching. I'm okay with it because it definitely helps me to like if I want to write a book, I can do that. And it gives you the confidence to pull the. I know I have skill sets, so I'm not worried about getting things done, right? But I also realized, even from just being here on this podcast, I'm on this podcast because I want entrepreneurs to understand the principal foundational pillars that they need to put in place before they go out here and start and launch the business, right? So I can come on here and talk on your podcast. I also have an online course that people can buy, which is a couple $1,000s. And I have a coaching program that people could buy, which is like 5 figures, right? But I want people, entrepreneurs, to have access to this information, even if they're not ready to invest at the 5-figure level. So this book is going to be a lot about what I talked about today. Right. And it goes into more depth. And it's not just like today I'm giving them information on this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. This book is a step-by-step guide. So it's everything that I said they need to do, but now I'm mapping out the steps. Step 1, go do this. Step 2, go do this. Step 3, go do this. So every chapter, we're getting it done. We're going to make sure you're in an LLC because you're going to follow the steps. We're going to make sure you have the legal agreements. We're going to make sure you have your trademarks and your copyright because I'm literally detailing step by step. So I don't want anybody to say, oh, I can't do that because I can't afford a lawyer. I can't afford coaching. This book is probably going to be $20. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So this, and that's why I said I woke up with it on my heart that I needed to be able to put something out there to give people access to for that person who you just said is thinking about starting a business, but he doesn't know, is it time? Is he ready? If he gets this book and he reads everything, he'll have an idea. He or she will say, yeah, I am ready. Or maybe I need to do these things first before I start, right? So that's what this book is really all about. It's really about giving entrepreneurs, it doesn't matter if you're starting off or you're scaling, because I know entrepreneurs who have been in business for 20 years and still haven't had the foundational pillars in place, right? Right. And some of them have been super successful, but they've been lucky too because they just knock on wood, nothing bad has happened. Mm-hmm. But then I know some where they've been in for 30 years and then the wood got knocked through and now, something is happening. But you just don't want to be that person. I always say you want to make sure, you would never, ever build a house on quicksand. I would never see anyone go put a house on quicksand and then add a pool and then get siding and do all this stuff. But people, entrepreneurs do that with their business. They just go and just start building and growing and there's no foundation. You know, there's no protection for liability. There's no protection for your intellectual property. There's none of those things in place. And then now, you know, at some point, at any given moment, that quicksand could go poof, and it's all gone, right? So I don't want that for entrepreneurs. And I don't want it to be so unaccessible that
Right.
they don't know. Right. And I've been working with entrepreneurs a long time. I am an entrepreneur. When I first left the prosecutor's office, I opened up my law firm. I expanded to 2 states, 3 locations within a matter of a year. And when I did my side hustle coaching business,
Right.
I did like 6 figures in less than 12 months as a side hustle.
Right.
So, you know, but I know the foundational pieces, and I feel like once you put that in place, it's all go from there. You don't have to worry about turning back, fixing things, right?
Right. Right.
So that's what this book is really all about. And I just want entrepreneurs to really be able to have something solid, not garbage, not fluff,
Right.
something solid that they can use and say, you know what? I may not be able to hire her as an attorney. I may not be able to hire her as a coach, but I'm going to go get this book for 30 bucks, 20 bucks, whatever it's going to be. And I'm going to make sure I got all my things together. And then if I need help along the way, hey, I may reach out to her. It's all good.
A coaching program in the palm of your hands,
Yes,
basically.
absolutely.
Basically, without the person to person,
Absolutely.
it's really a coaching program.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the coaching programs are just personal one-on-one. Sometimes people just have, if you can afford to touch somebody,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Any book you read, if
Yes.
if you could afford to touch that person, the book, you would probably do it.
Absolutely.
Because the information is right there
Right
in the
there.
palm of your hand. Ain't nothing like somebody verifying, somebody right there helping you shape you a little and verifying it a little bit. Ain't nothing like that. But that really is a coaching program in the palm of your hands.
It
I'm gonna
is.
make sure
Because
I get a hold of that book.
I always say, you know, you pay for access, right? You pay for access.
That's what
How
it is.
much you pay is how much access you get. I'm not teaching anything different in a $30 book, in a $3,000 online course, or in a $50,000 private. I'm just closer to the people,
That's
right?
right. That's
So in the
right.
book, it's the same skills. It's just do it yourself. You got to read it and you got
Right.
to do everything. In my online program, it's the same concept, but I'm doing it with you because we have calls and I'm checking in on you. Then if you're in
Right.
my coaching program, we talking, you know, on Zoom regularly, right? But
Right.
it's the same information.
It's
So
just
I
more
don't
and
feel
more
like
access.
right. And that's
Right.
why, like I said, that's why I said this week, because I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs, and I just really wanted to be able to offer another avenue of access that didn't require someone to have to mortgage their house or give up their firstborn.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Question: how important is social media
Very.
for your business?
Social media is important for every business.
Right.
The phone call that I just got off of, the first thing I met this person who, you know, she wants to get some, you know, trademark work and stuff done. But I
Mm-hmm.
met her about 3 years ago at an event because I do a lot of speaking. And I haven't seen her since then, but she watches me on social media. And she
Mm-hmm.
says, I've been watching what you do. And you know, people, when they get on my calendar, like, oh my God, I saw that Facebook reel you did the other day because I talk
Right.
about trademarks and stuff. And you know, there are businesses on social media that are 6 and 7 figure businesses that don't run ads. They just post, they show up, they serve, they give out content, and
Mm-hmm.
people reach out. So if you are a business owner, social media is a huge factor in your business. If you want to grow and scale, I always say you cannot be a success in a secret, right? You
Ooh.
you
Say it
cannot
again. Say it for the
you
people
can
in the back.
you cannot be a success and a secret at the same dang time.
Mm.
You can't. You know, and people, like, I was talking to this young lady. I'm on social media regularly. This week I'm not because I got stuff that I got to get done. So I'm all right, right? But if you're not showing up on social media and people don't see you, you're not going to be top of mind. So I met her 3 years ago. She just came to the realization through whatever's going on in her business that she needs trademarks and she needs certain things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because she met me 3 years ago. It's because she keeps seeing me on IG.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she called me. Because if she met me 3 years ago and she didn't see me ever again, I wouldn't be top of mind.
Correct.
So social media keeps you top of mind in your ideal client's head. And that's where you want to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's no other place to be except for in the top of the mind of your prospective clients.
That
And
is
social
absolutely
media
right.
allows you to do that.
All right. So where can the people find you? Are you looking for? How does that work? Is your coaching program open to the public? It's closed to certain people. How does that work?
It's open. I usually start. Actually, I'm getting ready. You know what? I'm getting ready to do a 5-day challenge, right?
Okay.
Which is going to be all on this stuff. So that's going to happen soon. So I don't have the link or anything to that. But what I could do, I also can give. I'm gonna give them a free gift. How about that?
Oh man,
How
that's what
about I
we're
do that?
talking about.
How about I give them a free gift? All your people, what I'm gonna give them is my profit. I can give them the profit and protection guide, or you tell me which one you think your people need. I can do the brand protection, or which is all about the trademark if they need that, or it could just be the business one, which just talks about all the things that they should do. Maybe the business one would be better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna just say the link and then they can go get it. It's legalimemybiz.com and then / profit protection guide.
I'm gonna wrap that link on up and I'm putting it in my group too.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
if they go get that, it's a free guide. And I think I list like the 10 main things that they want to avoid so these legal landmines don't catch them out there, right?
Right.
So I talk about that, but then they'll also have an opportunity to get on my mailing list. So when I get ready to do the challenge, the challenge, they can sign up for the challenge.
Absolutely. I'm gonna make sure I post that link.
And when the book comes out, I'll be letting everyone know. The book is scheduled to be my deadline. My launch date is October 20th.
Okay, so you'll be doing some speaking and some promoting, so you can come back to the Business and Hustle podcast and promote it.
I will.
All right, that sounds like a winner.
I will.
Well, it's been great. You've been a fantastic guest. Fantastic. We need like two helpings of you, for real. And I definitely appreciate you, and I know the watchers don't appreciate you also. You have any last words that you want to give to the people?
I just want everyone out there, if you are an entrepreneur, you have to legally boss up your business. You cannot make money and not keep it. You cannot put your brand out there and you don't own it. So you need to take the necessary steps to make sure that you're not only making money, but you're keeping it. You want to have profit, protection, and peace of mind.
Profit, protection, and peace of mind. Y'all heard it here. Thank y'all. Everybody be cool. Everybody take care.